like a couple seconds before I say what I need to say. The background that you're looking at now is the title screen. Um, I'm gonna try to keep this brief and short, but calming water, waves, etc. will fill in the background noise. As I tell you guys how I felt about this game and how it ended. Um, I want to start this off and say that do I like this game? Yes, I loved it. When it comes down to the ending, I loved it too. People might think that you're gonna do a double, like go back, say, hey, it's good, but I don't like the ending. No, this game was great, and I love this ending. Some people might say the game doesn't have a payoff, but for you to not feel the emotions that, or better yet, everyone's emotion is different. For you to not feel the same emotion that I did, I mean, I think that's the one that the writers intended. Um, I want to get right into the spoilers. In this game, you play as two characters. You play as Abby, and you play as, Ellie, returning from the first game. It's heavily advertised that you get to play as Ellie, you know, but Abby is the antagonist of the game, and it's kind of interesting because the game always plays on perspective, plays about perspective of who's the villain and who's good and whatnot. Um, or it doesn't intentionally, but that's how you're supposed to feel. Best thing I can tell you is like Attack on Titan. Sorry to bring up a different show, but Attack on Titan, some similar things happen with who's the villain and are they really enemies. Um, Abby's motivation is getting revenge for the death of her father. The person that killed her father is Joel, the person that protected Ellie. And the whole reason why Joel protected Ellie was because they tried to make a vaccine for the cordyceps virus or fungus, and Ellie was the cure. But in order for her to, make a vaccine, she'd have to die. Joel didn't let that happen. He killed and took everyone that he needed to kill to make sure that she was safe. So she's safe. But in the process, he killed a couple people. So Abby gets revenge for her father by killing Joel. And then Ellie wants revenge for Joel's death and goes after Abby. So in Abby's story, Joel is seen as an antagonist, a killer, one that came in and took her father away. And to Ellie, Abby is the antagonist, the person that came in and killed Joel while they were having a peaceful life, somewhat. So at first, since you've spent more time with Ellie, from the first game, and you've played as Joel, so you care about his death, you know, and as you're playing through, the day 1, 2, 3, because it's 3 days you get to play as Ellie. As you're playing through day 1, 2, and 3 with Ellie, you're hell bent on killing Abby. You're aligned with her goals. So you understand, like, hey, yo, we got to get revenge for her. We don't care how it gets done. We're killing anybody that we kill anybody that takes. You know, you start going after her friends. You start killing people like Nora or Danny, I think it was. I don't know. There was some other kid he killed. I don't know his name. But yeah, you start murdering these guys just to get revenge, get information on Abby. Um, and I don't think you get really information from any of them. All of the intel you did and all the killing you did was useless. Um, but after day 3, you you and Abby finally meet face to face, and it cuts out. Um, then goes back to day 1. and now you're playing as Abby. Now you've had a lot of hatred, and right before this point, Abby kills Lee, shoots him right in the face. Lee, I think his name was. No, JJ. So it was J. What was his name? Jared, Johnny. I don't know. Jeremy. Sorry. Jesse. Jesse is a cool Asian Oriental character. He helps you out, and he's an overall cool dude. But he gets shot and he dies suddenly, real quick. Just when you think everything's getting kind of safe, he gets shot. So Jesse's dead, and Abby's the one who shot him. So you're mad at that point. You're like, okay, she just killed Jesse, and now I have to play as her. What the hell? You have a lot of hate going on towards this character as you play as her, because not only is she because you're sneaking around infected and the scars and whatnot, the other faction in the game. Not only are you playing Abby, but whenever you're in her shoes, you still get immersed. You can't, because you're playing as her. So as you're playing as her, so you can't really do nothing about it. You can't change the story anyhow. If you want to complete the game, you have to play as Abby. Or you gotta play through her flashbacks, you gotta play through her dreams, you have to play as Abby. So when you're playing with somebody, you kind of forget that they are there sometimes, and that you put yourself in their shoes. Like, okay, I have to sneak around these infected, I have to take out these guards, I have to be stealthy, I have to go guns blazing, etc. You kind of forget Abby is there, and you kind of forget what she's done, almost. Abby's afraid of heights, so whenever you look down a tall building or a tall space, she starts to breathe heavily, starts to shake some, grab herself, ball up a bit. That's Abby's quirk. Kind of makes her human. She's built like a fucking truck. She's big and buff, but it kind of brings her back down to earth. Like, no, she's not just all strength. She has fear. She even if it's irrational. Fear of heights isn't as irrational, but still, she has fear. She's human. She has lust. There is a sex scene, kinda. Yes, sex scene. There is the lust there. So yeah, she's just a human. She's just like all of us. When it comes to, sorry, had to yawn for a bit. You play through Abby's day 1 and 2, and she starts to grow a heart, change up, and you start to really do care. At this point, you've been killing WLF soldiers back to back to back. They were just another enemy. Doesn't matter. Abby, once you join our WLF as Abby, or you're playing as Abby, and you're with the wolves, it doesn't really matter. You're not playing with any random soldiers. You're playing with that small circle that she has. And one of my favorite characters was Manny, off her side, off of Abby's side, because Manny was such a player, a nice old character. And he gets shot. And when he gets shot right in the face and dies, you're like, oh my fucking god, who can be sniping at us? Because you're fighting a sniper. Who can be sniping at us? Who just killed the fuck out of Manny? We gotta get revenge for Manny. And it turns out the person that just killed Manny is Tommy, Joel's brother, who is on a journey to get revenge just as Ellie is. So you're like, oh man, the person that just shot Manny, the cool dude that you were just hanging with, is fucking Tommy. So you're like, okay, wait, you were rooting for the death of the sniper for a little bit, but now you're like, oh wait, this is Tommy. But Tommy survived, so you're like, okay, how did this encounter, what happened in this encounter, what happens, how do you get out of this or whatnot? And that comes to conclusion and whatnot. Who cares? You make it back to the aquarium. Manny's dead. You make it back and you find Owen and Maria, I think her name was, is dead, and Maria's pregnant. Um, so you're like, you saw Ellie kill these people, and you know they're dead. So when, and Alice is dead, a dog by the way. So when you see Ellie, or sorry, when you see Abby get to the aquarium again, you're like, oh no, I know how this all plays out. Owen and Maria aren't gonna be there by the time Abby gets back. Um, they'll be there, but they won't be alive. Um, so she gets there, she finds them, she picks up a map that Ellie dropped, and it gives their exact location of where they're hiding. They get in there, they get Tommy. As Tommy's walking, as you ruffle up Tommy and whatnot, Jesse and Ellie walk through that door. She shoots Jesse. You get a different perspective on Ellie instead of she's hiding behind the thing. You get a different perspective, and whatnot. You get into the boss fight. And the thing about this boss fight is that you're not playing as Ellie. You're playing as Abby. So you're wondering, how does Ellie come on top of this if you're the player? And we hate the trope of I won in the game but I lost in the cutscene type of deal. That doesn't happen here. Abby wins this fight, and as Abby's about to probably kill Ellie, Dina, who's pregnant, comes in and hits gets into Abby, and Abby's about to cut her throat, kill her. Ellie says a few words that makes her hesitate for a bit. She's like, she's pregnant. Abby, who has nothing blood in her eyes for all the friends that she just lost, is about to kill Dina. But Lev, one of the kids she picked up, the scars, says that, we don't need all this fighting. There's been enough blood already. Let's just go. And it was supposed to be payback for Maria, I believe her name was. I just don't remember her name, but it's supposed to be payback for the person that just died, the pregnant girl that Ellie killed. Abby goes on and says, "Don't let me ever see you again." And she just goes on about her life, sparing Ab. She spared and she spared Ellie and Dina. So that was that. I'm gonna read a synopsis of the game, of course. Now, flash forward, we have Dina is no longer pregnant. She has the child. They're on a farm, and Tommy is still alive. He comes and gives Abby. She gives some intel on where Abby may be. Ellie is conflicted on whether or not she should still go because she's been having nightmares about Joel, and she opts to go, and she goes. In Santa Barbara, where the Fireflies are, and where Abby finds them, freaking Abby gets captured by a different organization called the Rattlers, but that doesn't really so she gets captured. That's what matters. Ellie makes it to Santa Barbara, works her way through the Rattlers, freeing the prisoners along the way, and she finds Abby, who is beaten up, unrecognizable haircut, muscle mass seems like it's depleted. She looks like she hasn't eaten, her skin's peeling, she looks like a skeleton compared to what she was. And Ellie's at this point is also injured, and she was about to let them leave. They're going to go their separate ways or whatnot, but Ellie takes a look at her hand, the blood in her hand already, and it just reminds her of the blood on Abby's hand, and she has a flash. She has a thought runs through her mind of Joel, They're laying there on the floor with his face all messed up after Abby did it. Um, she just can't let them go. So they fight, and just as she's about to probably, as she's about to drown, just as she's about to drown Abby, because Abby's a lot weaker now. Just when she's about to drown her, another train of thought runs through her head, and it's of Joel. And this is not like a Joel all beaten up near death. This is a Joel in a happy moment where they kind of patch things up almost. Ellie and Joel. Um, they after that, then she lets her go. Tells her to take Lev, because at this point Lev is like Ellie. I mean, she doesn't take a. She makes a remark about, you know, or she says something. Abby says like he's not a part of this because Ellie threatens to kill Lev, but Ellie says you made him a part of this. And from what I got from that is that Ellie, um, Abby and Lev are a reflection of Joel and Ellie. Um, had she probably, she would probably thinking this ahead, but as a player, I'm thinking to my own thoughts. If she kills Abby here, Lev will want revenge, and this could be some sort of cycle. Or Lev might let it go. You're not supposed to have regrets as a scar. Um, but just how Joel brought Ellie into this, Abby brought Lev into this. And I don't know, it must have been like Abby was Lev's Joel, and she just couldn't bring herself to kill her, and she just let her go and let them go on their way. They went on their way, and she went back to the farm where Dina was. Dina's no longer there on the farm. She's all alone, and she walks away. Um, that's that. That's the ending of The Last of Us 2. Um, I I really did enjoy this. Playing as both characters, feeling both emotions. You get comfortable with both of them. You understand they both have different things to them. Others can do something the other can't do. Um, yeah, it's just something about it that I really do like about it. And this is honestly a great game. I wouldn't change anything about it. Um, just when you think it's about to end, it doesn't. It keeps on going. There's some awesome boss fights. There's some awesome fights. Music, I'm not too sure. I really listening too much, but other than that, this has been a good ass game. Um, yeah. So it's not a review. It's just my thoughts. Um, and there were some great thoughts. This was a really good game. And yeah, amazing. But that's been my thoughts on The Last of Us 2 ending. Try to keep it brief, try to keep it short. Uh, but yeah, that's it. And it's Saturday right now. So if you're watching this on the day this comes out, there's a Saturday stream coming out. We got two of them, part 1 and part 2 of the Saturday streams. This is I just streamed this so that it would be easier for me to upload it. But other than that, have a nice one. It's been a nice ride, and I can finally delete this goddamn game off my console. All right, catch y'all. Hold up. Abe,